Hi, this is Christy Griffith coming at you from Orlando, Florida. I am a homeschool mom. I've been homeschooling since my children were born 14 years ago, and I've got three boys, actually, is what I have. And I am also a working mom. I teach professionally, and I do acting, and I'm a musician. So I am very, very busy. I've got a lot of irons in the fire, actually. And I would like to speak with you right now about the junior high and high school ages. So what I'm imagining that you're up against right now is that they are sitting in front of their PC or their laptop and learning from an expert in their classes, basically. So they're going to school online, probably primarily right now, is what I'm imagining. So in getting through this particular pandemic time where you are not really in charge of their education, there's an expert in charge of their education and giving them grades for it, and they are having to do remote learning. So the tough part about this is you not really being in charge. You don't really get to say, well, we'll do that, but we won't do that. You got to do it all. And that is a really, really hefty schedule. So I want to start off by saying, be very empathetic with your student, because that is hard. It's not only hard physically on the eyes and on the brain and on the head and on the body, having to sit there, but really at the junior high and high school age group, they really are individualized in their learning. They're actually capable of teaching themselves. So another thing that they're up against and they're feeling inside of their soul is they're having to listen to lectures and then spit back that information, that content. And learning is less, in my estimation, about content than it is about your own interests and filling in those gaps. Because at the elementary age, you and the experts in charge gave them the tools of how to learn. You taught them how to read. You taught them how to write. You taught them their basic arithmetic, right? And so those are the basic tools of learning. So now at the junior high and high school ages, there's several things going on. And one of them is that it really doesn't go with their learning style to sit there and listen. Now, you and I know as adults that we have to continue learning. We have to continue listening to experts in subjects. That's just a part of life. So let's help them do that, and let's help them do that with some empathy, knowing that that's a very difficult thing for them, especially to be sitting in front of a computer. One of my favorite Bible verses is Jesus said, a student becomes like his teacher. A student becomes like his teacher. And if the teacher is a computer, then you can imagine how dull they're kind of feeling in their brains after all of this. So my recommendation is that they only spend 50 minutes, 50 minutes, a segment on their virtual learning, and then take a 10-minute break. So 50 on, 10 off. In that 10 minutes, if they need to check a text or an email, fine, but it should be walking around. It should be getting a snack if they need it. It should be looking out in a space that's not narrow like their computer is. So give them that 10-minute break for every 50 minutes. And then, paying attention for them is pretty difficult on the computer, and having to sit there and take in that information is pretty tough. So I'm kind of speaking, I guess in my head, I'm thinking that you're a working parent trying to manage now your kid's education. That's what I'm picturing in my mind. And I know not every scenario is going to be like that. So that's kind of my target audience right now. So number one, keep a schedule. I know it's really hard to be consistent. So you're not going to every day be perfect and consistent, because every day is a little bit different. But do your best to keep a really strict sleeping and eating schedule. I really recommend no snacks personally, because I feel like that just gets in the way, and we're all stress eating anyway during this lockdown. So do your best to keep a strict routine and a strict schedule, and talk to your kids about that. They're at the junior high and high school age. They're now their own boss. You're a manager, but you aren't necessarily the boss anymore. They are their own boss. So sit down with them, work out a schedule, tell them you want them to take a break after every 50 minutes, turn the computer off and go walk around for 10 minutes. Take that break. And then motivation wise, every child is different, but you're going to have to find what motivates your child. What is it that means something to them? And this also means that you need to have a discussion with them and figure out what it is that is meaningful to them. What kind of social time do they need each day? Whether that's, a virtual social party time, or just even having the time to text or FaceTime, TikTok, whatever that happens to be. So you've got to find out what they value and then let that be your leverage, because they're going to need to get a certain amount of work done before they're allowed to have that reward. So there's no yelling, there's no screaming, there's no threatening. These are the parameters that we set out for you. You get this done, then you can go and have this thing and this time that you have to value. And I really recommend, it could be weekly, it could be daily. I mean, it doesn't have to be that consistent, but to dialogue with them about something that they can look forward to. They need something every day that they can look forward to, especially when they're not having their social life. They're not in the company of other people. There's got to be something that they need, that they have to look forward to. And you guys determine that as a family, even if it's a once a week takeout, whatever, their favorite food. But I want you to be encouraged to realize that they're actually independent learners at this age. Your job is not to be the content expert. It's their job to learn. So some really key factors to learning. Number one is conversation. Converse with them. Converse with them. After a class, find out, just say, hey, tell me what your class was about. Or we call this narration, this kind of conversation where you're hearing what they heard. So in a homeschool situation, we actually will do this with every single subject, no matter what their age and who taught it to them. So the littles will read a story and we'll say, narrate the story back to me. What that narration or that conversation does is it tells you, number one, what they've heard. If they can explain it back to you, so let's say they're in geometry or calculus, if you say, hey, tell me about what the lesson was today, what was the concept that you had to learn? If they can explain that back to you, then you know they've got it, right? If they're struggling with it, then you begin asking good questions. So you, as the expert in their lives, because remember, you are their first teacher. If you listen to my last video, you are their teacher. The people that you have put in charge of them to learn content are the experts in the content, but they're not the expert on your child. So your job is two things. Your job is to engage your child and figure out what motivates them and keep that little carrot dangling in front of them. And then number two, your job is to learn how to ask good questions and how to draw them out. And depending on their personality, that can be very, very different. So if they can narrate that back to you. So my suggestion for you, just simply to get some things done, since they're now accountable to their expert who will give them grades, is to give them deadlines. You got to get this month of stuff done before you get to do this, to keep them on a schedule so that they're not, really, honestly, the routine just helps everybody. And I have a love-hate relationship with routine for sure. And then to converse with them and just check in. And I know, with schedules the way they are, that's really tough, but you guys are quarantined, so there is a little bit of less time and energy going out of your home. Put that back into this time. And just for your mental sanity, know that this time is definitely a short amount of time. There is an end to all of this. This is not going to be forever. Now, if you have questions for me further than, I've tried to go fast because I don't want to make these videos long. But if you have questions to me, please reach out to me. Just comment down below and I will get back to you. If you need specific tutoring in some areas, I can hook you up with some folks for that. And then Also, if you do have interest in how, what if we wanted to do this next year and actually let you as a parent be in charge of the content that they're learning so that you can, or if you just want to learn how to instill a love of learning for your children, we can talk further about that too. All right, take care. I'm Christy Griffith from Orlando, Florida.